All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Malzberg panel. I know you wait all day for this, all night. You wonder who's going to be on it.
It's the best part.
It is just incredible. But we're joined by our friend Seton Motley, of course, the founder of Less Government, and economist and professor at the University of Maryland, and Newsmax contributor Peter Morrici is with us. Hello, gentlemen.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Say hello to Shannon.
Hello, Shannon.
Hey
What
there.
is Shannon's role here?
Hey.
Well, Shannon is an equal participant in this discussion.
I see.
I'm here to talk to you.
Yes.
Well, that's delightful.
Okay.
Usually this guy gives me dour old men. I can't see you,
Oh,
but
well.
you must be better looking than Steve.
All right. There you go. All right. See, thank you for refraining. I appreciate that. All right. Let's talk about, we just had on David Swerdlick of TheRoot.com talking about the affirmative action decision. And, you know, I got to tell you, it's driving me nuts. I know we've talked about the decision already, but this media coverage in the aftermath with Sonia Sotomayor in a 6-2 decision, her decision being leading the story for the network coverage on all the networks, that it's some kind of, impassioned, unprecedented, remarkable dissent, when basically it's just crying for more affirmative action. Peter?
Well, why are we broadcasting on the net? Why are you and I not having this panel on CNN? The producers there, don't like this decision. And this reminds me of the people that do affirmative action in the Justice Department, the Civil Rights Division. When they don't like a decision, they'll post a statement that we think the Supreme Court was wrong, type of posting. But the decision is going to have far-reaching effects, but it's certainly not going to be as complete as conservatives might like. A lot of states are going to continue to have affirmative action. Unpopular or not, the folks that run the states and that are in the state legislatures, they won't be able to muster the votes to change things. And in some states like Massachusetts, well, they just love this stuff anyway. California is a very strange place.
That's true.
And remember, it doesn't strike down in business. It doesn't strike down what private actors do. They are still enabled to continue to discriminate as they do. And it won't change the culture of universities. There'll still be a lot of discrimination in hiring. And there'll still be some discrimination in admissions. It's going to be hard to nail down, difficult to catch. It's very insidious. It's in the culture, and it's going to continue.
Seton, agree?
Yeah, I wish we had less cowardly Republicans on a whole host of issues, and this is one of them. Sotomayor is, we knew going in she was an absurd pick, and the Senate didn't muster enough opposition to her. Because that was back before Harry Reid went nuclear. You could have stopped her if you really wanted to. Her opinion was so bizarre and absurd. To say that the Constitution, which possesses the phrase equal protection before the law, is being violated if you don't give preferential treatment to one group over another, is just outside the bounds of reality. It's really, it just shows, it's what Mark Levin says, which is, these people are imposing their personal policy preferences rather than enforcing the Constitution and the written law.
Well, gentlemen, we played a soundbite earlier of Sonia Sotomayor before she was a Supreme Court justice, which came up, during the hearings, or at least we talked about it during the hearings, where she said how policy is made on the circuit court of the Court of Appeals, I believe she was talking about, and then she said, "Oh, I'm not supposed to say that. Well, we don't make policy." So she's mocked the whole process from the beginning.
Yeah, she was a built-in.
Are you really surprised
Go ahead,
when
Peter.
Justice Roberts can create a tax where one doesn't exist because he's afraid of the President of the United States? He's been, spoken down to in a State of the Union address. Don't you dare knock down another big piece of legislation. So he makes up a fiction that fine is a tax. It's reason is thrown to the winds. I'm not surprised at all she's saying this. And the other judges probably think, well, it's just fine.
Peter, why do you think she's so scared of the president?
No, Justice Roberts. Justice Roberts there was a comment made when they struck down Citizens United. The president made a rather stern comment in his direction that don't you dare do that again. and he doesn't like 5-4 decisions. So he basically changed his vote on the health care law and came up with the myth that fine is a tax. No, the president made very pointed statements in the direction of Justice Roberts, and Justice Roberts took his shirt off, and the yellow streak was there for all to see.
Well, and not only, I mean, we're talking about judges and justices doing things they're not supposed to be doing. Chief Justice Roberts basically had to write the government's argument for them to create a tax out of Obamacare because Obama's lawyers didn't argue that it was a tax. So
Basically,
not only did he have to,
nice
in his opinion, he basically
piece of
argued that
legislation.
position for the government because the government never made that argument.
Exactly. That was a nice piece of legislation, Justice Roberts. But last I heard,
not
you're
even
the
legislation. He was introducing the argument into the discussion after all the arguments had been made.
Exactly. That's not what judges are supposed to do.
No.
All bets are off. The Supreme Court now is like the old style section of the Washington Post. It's an absolute playpen.
You know,
I mean,
which
just
brings us
assumed
to
that better legal reasoning reading the New York Post.
Well, if it's
But,
the
you know, it
Washington
does
Post
bring
style
us to-
section, up tyranny, down the Constitution.
No, the
I'll
old Washington
tell you, though,
Post
guys-
style section was something else, but we won't go there.
Guys, when we come back from the break in segment number 2, Shannon and I want to talk to you about a piece written by the CEO of Newsmax, Chris Ruddy, who comes out in support, for the most part, of what Jeb Bush had to say about immigration with a couple of qualifications. And I want to talk about that. But also, you know, it does, we don't have time to go into this, but that's why the Supreme Court should have been made such an issue by Mitt Romney in the 2012 cycle, and it should always be an issue for a presidential election because, you know, Obama theoretically, God forbid, and it could still happen, could have inherited a conservative justice having to leave or two, and that would have been the end of this country as we know it for the next 50 years. But anyway, we're coming back.
It's Senate races too, because they're supposed to.
Right. All right, don't go away, guys. Seton, Motley, and Peter Morrici. We're coming back.
We don't just talk about the news, we talk to those making news. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.